Hey everyone, it's Will, Gamer Dad, with another video for you. So this video is going to showcase the difficulty of the very hard Another Dungeon, former KMS headquarters. And in order to unlock this, you will have to have finished Chapter 2 of the newest update for Helena. You also will have to finish off a green key at least and beat the level 65 hard version. Now I didn't film the hard version only because I think most of you don't want to see that and want to see what we're up against at the level 70 level. So the enemies are the same as what you would have encountered in Chapter 2 while you were exploring the former headquarters as part of the story quest. And if you've done the hard one, you'll know that most of the enemies are robotic and most of them don't have too many weaknesses. So these raptors are weak to earth, and those large robots were weak to blunt. So it is good to bring a team that has primarily blunt, and if you have some earth attackers, that'd be great as well. Keep in mind this is like the IDA quests where you will have to farm for the time force. Okay, so the older machine is the one that's vulnerable to blunt. Now the old machine I don't believe has any weaknesses or resistances. And being that you do need bonus characters, again, look up the list in the notices. You can see that I am bringing a fairly big selection of the bonus characters. You can also bring people like the newest character, Bayaka, who happens to be blunt as a 5-star, which would be very beneficial both against the horrors as well as some of the mobs, and finally the boss as well. But never mind that for now. So you can see this horror is weak to blunt, just like its smaller mob version. And so if you do have Amy as a 5-star, this is going to be a cakewalk for you. Now, I did opt to bring Mariel into very hard because at the end of the day, Rika's heal is just not going to be good enough. And I do know that Curvo does give a bonus as well, but 2 4-star healers is going to be very difficult at this level. Now, if you did have at least 3 5-stars, that is, of Renri, Biaka, Seti, and or Amy, I don't know if you would need Mariel as a 5-star healer. But being that I am forced to use a bunch of 4-stars, I did bring Mariel to this dungeon. And this dungeon is a light dungeon, so you will need 120 light if you want to unlock all your reward slots for this dungeon. Also, this is Galliard's dungeon, and you will be able to grind Shadow for him if you so choose. So, of course, I do have him in the front lines here. The nice thing is, at the beginning of Chapter 3, you get to recruit Galliard as a guest, and he comes as a level 60 4-star, so he's fully maxed. Just remember to assign all the ability points to his entire skill tree in order to maximize his potential before bringing him into this dungeon, because he does have a couple of cool earth moves, and he actually has something kind of like the Dragoon move from Final Fantasy, where they leap into the air and aren't able to be targeted for 1 turn, and then comes down and hits you with an attack for AoE. So that's kind of cool. It definitely reminds me of other role-playing games I've played in the past. Also, depending on your characters, you will have to rotate to the back to recover some of your MP, especially if you decide to take on both horrors. And I would definitely recommend taking on both horrors because you are farming the Another Time Force here. And in order to maximize the points you get and minimize the number of red and green keys you are wasting, you want to kill off all those horrors because they give a fairly big amount of points, even more so than the boss itself. And that is pretty typical. So there is 1 horror in Area 1 and 1 horror in Area 2. And since they are both weak to blunt, your 5-star Amy, especially if you do have the bulk Faust, will work wonders. You can see earlier on I was using the triple down which does the 3 times XL non-elemental, and of course Bulk Faust boosts that tremendously. Now for your information, or if you haven't followed my channel before, I do have the Bulk Faust at +8, so obviously the damage I'm doing might be a little bit more than yours depending on how strong your Bulk Faust is. And of course I have a power badge on Amy as well. So again, second horror here. The stun does work on the boss, so Amy's triple down again not only does a tremendous amount of damage, it can also stun the boss, and she moves faster than the boss even at the level 80 level, so that your 4 stars may not get hit if you do land a good stun. And again, I only brought in Galliard to deal extra damage since Mariel is not set up or equipped with Holy Burst. She is purely as a defensive healer for most of my dungeons. And I know some of you do bring in Holy Burst for some extra damage, but I'm kind of lazy and I don't really rotate movesets, and especially in other lands, I don't find a need for Holy Burst so much as the 3 move slots I usually use for Mariel is Cure Leaf, Aurora Force, and Pure Cradle. So one experience I did find with this particular dungeon, if you look at this video length, it's about 13 minutes long. And as a comparison, if I speed run through some of the other dungeons where, for example, I am farming for Cyrus's Light and his Psalms in Man-Eating Marsh, it takes me less than 5 minutes. So this one does get time intensive. I realize that you do have to fight all 15 mob battles in order to get maximized points for this event. So that does take more time. But the main problem that I find, at least, and many of you may be finding this as well, the characters that are giving the bonus in this area do not have any significant AoEs. Like, Amy is purely single DPS target. Galliard does have one, but I mean his 4-star move does not kill off any sets of mobs easily. We have no mages here, and Seti's medium AoE is just not enough to deal enough damage to the level 70 mobs to kill them off in one shot. So preferably for most of these harder dungeons, and you've probably experienced this before, you need at least 2 good AoEs, like a medium and an XL or something to that effect, in order to wipe out the mobs in one turn. So that's one of the reasons why this is more of a slog and certainly a little bit slower than some of the dungeons I did before. So that being said, you know, it is part of the game. Anyways, we're just going to continue on here and you know, fight through these mobs. So you can see the difficulty level is moderate, and so I would definitely recommend having you know, at least some of these characters. Good thing is at least 2 or 3 of them are free and they give you a bonus, but like I said, if you cannot handle it with your bonus characters, feel free to bring in, you know, your heavy big guns, you know, the Suzettes or some of the more powerful characters you have. It's just that it's going to be a lot harder to farm all those Time Force points. On another note, I hope you guys are enjoying the storyline for Helena. For me, I'm only finished chapter 2 and just started chapter 3, so I have more questions than answers at this point, and I'm really curious to know how Galliard's going to proceed with his plans for reunification and coexistence, or on another note, whether or not, and I'm not sure if you guys have considered this, whether or not he is actually Leah back in another timeline and he gets corrupted. So, like I said, really looking forward to it. I'll probably play it after work today since, you know, for me, I'm just about to head to work. After all, like I said in another video, Gamer Dad is also a working dad. And I'm sure many of you have other obligations as well. So, you know, we try to squeeze in as much as we can. And I hope you are enjoying this video and all my other videos. Just a reminder that if you haven't already, please like and subscribe to my channel. I really appreciate it. Also, I do have a Patreon account for those who are interested in supporting me that way. Alright, so you can clearly see that the Retro's move for Seti is not quite enough. Again, I also don't have Renri or Biaka, so feel free to leave in the comments below if you do have both of those, whether or not that makes this particular dungeon a little bit easier or not. Like I said, I don't find it extremely difficult. It's just kind of a monotonous that I can't wipe them all out in one hit. And I'm going to be honest, usually when you can tailor your own team to whatever dungeon you're going through, it makes it a lot easier. When you're forced in an event like this to bring your set amount of characters, it kind of ties your hands in a way. Okay, so we are in the third area, and of course, just like all another dungeons, 2 chests in the first area, 1 in the second, and 3 in the third. Being that this is a special side event dungeon, no chance scripts or anything like that here. It's just purely the points that you can farm to achieve some of those rewards. And for those who don't know, the rewards are going to be the same as some of those other side quests. Oh, I didn't even realize that's called Time Layers Force instead of another Time Force. My apologies. I guess I associated another time with another force and another Eden, so probably a pretty common mistake. But I'm sure you guys know what I mean when I say points and farming for those. So, anyways, yes, you'll have the opportunity to get 3 chance scripts, a bunch of chrono stones, luring shadow and guiding light, and so on and so forth as you go through the milestones for this side event. Now, for myself, I haven't even finished Dogma Towers side event. I mean, I finished the chapters, but I have not grinded all those points because I just haven't gotten to it, to be fair. Okay, so this is the same boss as we fought in chapter 2. So he is weak to blunt, and again, having the 5-star Amy with the bulk faust is going to be a lifesaver here. So note that with Seti as well as Amy, you do have essentially 6 hits, which powers up the another force bar really quickly. And note that his second turn is a knockback move where it just knocks one of your characters to the back, dealing some minor amounts of damage. But that's fine. That just allows me to do 2 Valor Chants instead of 1. I did fight this boss in the hard version, and when he knocks out Amy to the back, that's even perfect because her Valor Chant increases everyone's attack by 30% the power, right? So this is purely a physical team. There's no mages on this team, and you can clearly see with all the damage that is done, it is an easy clear for the boss. And I imagine with Biaka's blunt hammer attack, that would make it even easier to clear this entire dungeon, to be fair. Alright, let's see what we get in the 3 reward lines, and if we get any shadow for Galliard. Nothing too special. Thanks for watching! We'll see you next time.